Okay. Morning, folks. Do we have a representative from the Ajo facility?
Yes, Aho is here.
Do we have Mr. Kingry present by chance?
We will get him for you now.
Perfect. Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is the Spanish interpreter.
Good morning. I don't see anybody. So I think it's okay if you're dismissed.
Okay, thank you. An interpreter will now disconnect.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Can you hear the court?
Morning.
And then, so, sir, can you go ahead and state your full name?
Jimmy Kingry.
Mr. Kingry, you're being seen on what's called an initial appearance today related to charges that you acquired as to assault, reckless/injury, disorderly conduct. It appears these are misdemeanor offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of the information before the court, at this time, the court is going to order that you be released at this time on your promise to appear at future proceedings. There are some conditions for release, which I'm going to tell you right now. Not to engage in any use of alcohol or illegal drugs, no acts of domestic violence, and not to possess any firearms or weapons. Your next court date in this matter is on February 4th at 9:00 a.m. And that's at the Justice Court, Ajo Justice Court. So make sure that you appear at that hearing. Failure to appear could result in the a warrant being issued for your arrest. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, so then you are excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Take care. Go to you. Okay, great. Uh-oh.
Oh, boy, it happens. Well, Your Honor, should I find somebody else?
Yeah, I think that's going to be necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their conflict, sir? Yes, unfortunately.
Sorry, Your Honor, Neil Poston for the state. What am I missing here?
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Poston, we had the unfortunate coincidence of my brother being defense counsel over at the jail, so I'm not going to be able to proceed on the initial appearances until we can get
Good catch, sir.
which we're
I
usually
will-
good at coordinating, but we're gonna unfortunately slip through the cracks, I guess. So we'll try to get this going as soon as we can.
Very good, sir.
I think in general, we should have 4 misdemeanors at least, or maybe 5 misdemeanors where we would not need felony counsel. So I think for today's purposes, if we can just have proceed with first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like I see 5. I see Hawthorne, Robinson, Romero, Verp, and Espinosa. I think that we could do. Who did over to the jail? Who did we have first as the person?
Hawthorne, Your Honor.
Okay. So then, why don't we do this? Tom, if you wouldn't mind, if we'll go ahead and hear some misdemeanors. Thanks for working on that.
May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, you may, counsel. And I don't know what would be faster for us to get another judge or for it to be, I think it's probably going to be have to get another public defender. Yeah, we'll just have to do that. Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Robert Hawthorne.
Thank you, Mr. Hawthorne. You're being seen today on initial appearance. You currently have a charge for assault under ARS 13-1203. It's a misdemeanor offense. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. However, in looking at the information before the court at this time does not find probable cause to proceed on the pending charge. The information provided to the court provides no narrative or information upon which the court can really tell what happened in this case. So on that, Mr. Hawthorne, the court is going to be dismissing this matter without prejudice. So you're going to be released today. This may get refiled, but you'll be notified if that happens. But at this time, without sufficient information, I do have to release you today. So thank you for appearing and have a good rest of the day.
That's fair.
Go back up.
Morning, ma'am. Can you state your name, please?
Brittany Espinosa.
One moment, let me get your file. Okay, so Ms. Espinosa, looks like we're seeing you today on a single charge of being in a park area after hours. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Upon review of information before the court this time is going to be ordering that you be released on your promise to appear at future proceedings. Your next court date in this matter is going to be February 24th, 2025, 9:30 a.m. And that'll be with Judge Maldonado at the Tucson City Court. Make sure that you appear at that court date. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. And so the court is going to order as a condition of release that you not go back to the incident location. Any questions before we conclude today?
Yes, I've also was brought in on a failure to appear, but I actually did appear. I had my arraignment for that charge already. It's a miscommunication somewhere. The judge issued a warrant, but I saw the judge before the day ended, and she wanted to cancel that warrant. And she told me to come back in 2 days, which I did. I had my arraignment, and I saw pre-trials and everything.
Yes, that's my understanding as well, as that warrant was resolved. And so that's why we're just seeing you right now on the park issue. And so the court is releasing you today. So from my understanding, there's no other matter that's keeping you incarcerated at this time. So you should be released later on today. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You are excused.
Go back out, have a seat with the females.
And the director here.
Yes, just have a seat.
Your Honor, Megan Page from my office is going to be covering. She's asking for the team links to be sent to her by email, because she'll need to cover remotely. And if that's all right, she's also asking if the state would please forward her the recommendations for release from the state.
Who's that? What was the person's name, counsel?
It is Megan Page.
Okay, I'll send it now.
We're sending all that stuff over. Okay. Thank you very much. Are you going to leave at this time?
I'm going to hang out just to make sure she gets here okay, and then I'll leave.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Do we have other misdemeanors we can handle for right now? For example, Mr. Robinson, Romero, Verp?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Whenever they're ready.
Robinson.
All right. Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Carter James Robinson.
Mr. Robinson, you're seeing here today on a number of charges for criminal trespass and disorderly conduct. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of the probable cause statement with the court, at this time, what the court's going to do is order that you be released on today's date on your promise to appear at future proceedings. Court will have some conditions of release. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, not to have any contact with any of the victims, not to go to the incident location. The location that you were allegedly at, was this a residential address for you or somewhere different?
Is it 55 North Park Ave?
I think so, yes.
That's my apartment complex.
Okay. So what I'm going to check off is to the extent that whatever address that you're allegedly went to, and I don't want you to say anything about being there or not being there necessarily, but I'm going to just order that if it happens to be a shared residence for you, that you can return one time with law enforcement to retrieve personal belongings. I'm going to specify in the order that the incident location is the residence of any victims. In case that if you're at a different place than that, I don't want you to say yes or no, but if you're at a different place in that complex, that you're not prohibited from being at the complex.
May I ask, am I being trespassed from the apartment complex or certain units?
I don't know. That'll be up to the complex to decide after this proceeding, but for purposes of this proceeding, you're just ordered not to have any contact with any of the alleged victims and not to go to their residences.
Yes, sir.
All right, so your next court date in this matter, February 21st, 2025 at 2:00 PM. That'll be at the Tucson City Court downtown. Make sure that you appear. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Any questions before we conclude?
You said February 21st at 2 PM, Tucson City Mall or Tucson City?
Tucson City Court, correct. And you'll receive some paperwork with those dates as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Stay out of trouble. You're excused.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you state your name, please?
Romero.
Mr. Romero, you are here today on a couple of misdemeanor offenses for criminal damage and disorderly conduct. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of the information before the court is going to be ordering releasing you on today's date on your promise to appear. You have some conditions of release that you need to abide by. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and not to commit any additional acts of domestic violence. Your next court date in this matter is a arraignment on February 18, 2025, 1:30 PM at Tucson City Court. If you fail to appear at that hearing, a warrant could be issued for your arrest, and then you're having another one of these hearings, okay? Any questions before we conclude?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. You're excused.
Thank you. Perfect.
Morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Caleb Verp.
Mr. Verbeek, you're here today on charges of assault and disorderly conduct. These are misdemeanor offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of the information before the court, let me just take a look at one thing really quick before I make a ruling. Let's see. Okay, so what the court's going to do at this time, Mr. Verbeek, is the court's going to order that you be released on your promise to appear at future proceedings. There are going to be several conditions of release, though, that you need to abide by. Not to consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, commit no further acts of domestic violence, not to possess any firearms or weapons. Any firearms shall be surrendered to the Tucson Police Department within 48 hours of release. You're not to have any contact of any kind with the victims. And not to go to the victim's residence, because I understand this may be a shared residence. You may return one time with a law enforcement officer to retrieve personal belongings. So you need to coordinate that after you're released. Your next court date in this matter is March 4th, 2025 at 9:00 AM. And that'll be hearing at a Tucson City Court. Make sure that you appear. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Do you have any questions, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you. And then I show that we have, I don't think we have any more misdemeanors, correct?
Correct, Judge.
Okay, and then is Mr. Knauer gone? Do we have Ms. Page now?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm here. I'm sorry, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to have to be reading the pretrial service workups as we're going, as I haven't had a chance to prepare prior to the hearing.
Understood, and thank you for appearing on short notice. And part of that's probably my fault. I usually coordinate better with making sure that I don't have these kind of conflicts arise, but we'll try to go as best we can, okay?
That sounds good, no problem. Thanks, Your Honor.
Sure thing. So, okay, so then, are you, then, Ms. Page, are you ready to proceed on the next case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go ahead and proceed if we can, Jail. Thank you. Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Corey Galvis.
Mr. Galvis, you're being seen today on several felony charges: aggravated assault with a dangerous instrument, aggravated assault with temporary but substantial disfigurement, kidnapping, and attempted murder. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And you do have the right to assistance of counsel. There is counsel available virtually here to assist you. And we also have a victim who's going to be making a statement in just a moment. I'm just going to indicate what the recommendations are and get record from counsel, and then I'll hear from the victim. We have The state recommending that bond be set in the amount of $500,000 plus the release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Mr. Poston, anything additional you want to add?
It doesn't get, short of somebody actually being dead, Your Honor, it doesn't get more serious than this. He stabbed somebody in the face and threatened to kill them just before. This person is a danger to the community.
Thank you. And then Ms. Page, any record you want to make?
Yes, Your Honor, the defendant has no criminal history, either no felony criminal history, as well as no prior misdemeanor domestic violence convictions. I would ask the court to take that into consideration. Also, pretrial service noted that he is unemployed, and so constitutionally, the court is required to take a defendant's financial circumstances into consideration when determining a bond amount. And given his unemployment, I would argue that $500,000 would be acceptable.
Okay, and then we have an individual who's on the line to speak on behalf of the case. If you're there, you can go ahead and unmute and address the court, please.
Hi, Your Honor. I'm Corey's mother, Christina Galvis, and I have Joseph Epperson here as well, my husband, the victim, as well. Corey actually does have violent charges. He actually stabbed me in 2022. He had a Rule 11 on that charge, but he does have violent histories. And then, we would ask that the courts not release Corey. He's unstable right now. He's on COT. He just, we feel that if he were released, that he would be, come back and finish the job that he started. We have my mother living in the house with us. His siblings live here, and we don't feel right now that he is going to be safe to the community or anybody else at this time.
Okay, thank you for your input today. The court will go ahead and make its determination at this time. Consideration of all circumstances before the court. The court will set bond in this matter in the amount of $100,000 cash or secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Some conditions of release if bond is posted: no alcohol or illegal drugs, no acts of domestic violence, no firearms or weapons, no contact with the stated victims, no, do not go to the victim's residence or workplace, can return one time with a police escort to pick up belongings if it's a shared residence. Counsel will be appointed in the Pima County Public Defender's Office. And then Mr. Galvis' next court hearing is tentatively set, preliminary hearing, January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. And so that's your next court date. Failure to appear at future court dates can result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Any questions before we conclude?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. You're excused.
The number you have dialed is not.
Okay, good sir, can you state your name, please?
George Moore.
Mr. Moore, you're being, and first, can the jail confirm, do we have anybody else who's there in the room?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Moore, you are being accused on today's date of a couple of matters: child abuse, domestic violence, and aggravated assault on a minor. These are felony charges. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is counsel here virtually to assist you. The state is recommending bond be set in the amount of $100,000 plus release to pretrial services. And then Mr. Poston, any additional record?
Your Honor, the state just needs to emphasize the fact that this child was whipped in the eyes with a belt, and the abuse caused large bruising and scratches all over him. This is very, very disturbing.
Okay, and Ms. Page, any record?
Yes, Your Honor, I would ask that the court release him, Mr. Moore, with a no contact order. Your Honor, he has no prior criminal history. And I would note for the court that this is a situation where no doubt the Department of Child Services will get involved. There will be a dependency matter. He will have the child will have representation for that matter, and that is the appropriate venue to address concerns regarding contact with the child. Additionally, if DCS gets involved, he will have a parenting plan and a reunification plan put in place, and it is virtually impossible to comply with that and do the required classes while in custody at the jail. So I would ask that the court release him, order no contact with his child for the time being, and I would ask that if the court releases him, that any no contact order be reviewable at the discretion of the Department of Child Safety so that he can comply with any reunification plan put in place. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Just got typing something, one moment. Sorry, I'm still typing. I'm almost done. Okay, so this is a difficult set of facts for the court. But there's a couple of things. Number one, I think that I tend to agree with the defense that there is, and it sounds like it wouldn't have come up unless there is a likelihood of Department of Child Safety involvement being involved. What's also standing out to the court is that this looks like a matter that may have been parental discipline that just went awry. It doesn't necessarily make it better that an instrument was used. At the same time, in trying to balance a parent's right to be able to discipline against some of the more concerning facts in this one, and with the probability it sounds like that there may be involvement after this, the court this time is going to order releasing the defendant on today's date to third-party supervision of pretrial services. Mr. Moore, there's going to be several strict requirements as a condition of you being released today. No alcohol or illegal drugs, no acts of domestic violence, follow any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Additionally, there's some very specific conditions. Contact with the minor child, Elijah, is only as permitted by the Arizona Department of Child Safety or as permitted by the Pima County Superior Court if a dependency petition is filed. I'm also going to indicate that if the Department of Child Safety is not involved, you'd have no contact with the minor child until further court order. Additionally, that if a dependency case is initiated, that you shall comply with all case plan requirements. So that'll make a little bit more sense if there is a case filed, but instead of having you remain in jail where you don't have the possibility of trying to rectify what happened through use of services or education, I think these more restrictive orders will be appropriate in light of that. So the next court date, Mr. Moore, is a preliminary hearing. That's February 10, 2025, 1:30. And that is at the Pima County Justice Court. Make sure to appear at all future court dates. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest, and the court will also affirm counsel is appointed to the Pima County Public Defender's Office. Any questions, sir, before we conclude?
I also have a younger child. Easton is his brother.
Okay. He's not from what I understand, he's not a stated victim, but if I don't know, I'm not entering any orders at Easton at this time. I don't know whether he was present, whether he was involved. However, if contact with Easton necessarily requires that you have contact with Elijah, I think that's something you need to talk to your public defender about to see, because contact with Elijah, even if incidentally, would be a violation at this time of the order. So, any other questions at this time?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You're excused.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Brandon Rivera.
Mr. Rivera, you're being seen today on a couple of felony charges, narcotic drug violation and a drug paraphernalia violation. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And let me correct that. Possession of a narcotic drug and possession of drug paraphernalia. Since these are felony offenses, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And you do have a right to assistance of counsel. You do have counsel here virtually to assist you on today's date. State is recommending that you be released to third-party supervision of pretrial services. And is the state also suggesting that this be set for a steps hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then so looks like if time's going to be waived, that would put us out to March 7th for a preliminary hearing. Ms. Page, is that okay?
Yes, Your Honor, we'll waive the time.
Okay, so in general, Mr. Rivera, what's being offered to you is a type of diversion program through what's called the Smart Court over at Pima County Superior Court. And then you'll have some things that you'll be allowed to participate in order to get your charges essentially set aside as part of a diversion process. So your counsel for today is indicating that you are going to participate in that program. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yes, sir.
All right, you have your SMART hearing then. You're being released on today's date under the supervision of pretrial services. You have a SMART hearing at Superior Court, Pima County Superior Court, January 28th, a week from today, 9:00 a.m. So make sure you appear at Superior Court. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest or other sanctions. Additionally, you have another hearing for Pima County Justice Court. This is all going to get written down for you. March 7, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at the Justice Court. And make sure that you appear for all those future hearings. Failure to appear could again result in a warrant being issued. Court is going to order as a condition of release, however, that you follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services and not to consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. Counsel is going to be appointed in this matter, Sarah Wright. Any questions before we finish up for today?
No, sir.
Okay, you are excused. Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
Thank you.
Yes, if I didn't. Do you want me to start putting that in there? Okay. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Betsy Palka?
Mr. Luke, we've got a couple matters for you today. We'll take them one by one. First, we have a review hearing for you on today's date for a couple of pending matters in Maricopa County Superior Court. This is for prior charges of possession of dangerous drugs and drug paraphernalia. Just to remind you, these are felony offenses. So you do have a right to remain silent as to those offenses. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And to the extent necessary, there is counsel here to assist you if needed. So what the court's just going to inform you about is that as to the Maricopa County charges, it'll likely be that until any local matters get resolved, you'll be here at the Pima County Adult Detention Center. Next court date to review things in this court as to the Maricopa County charges, February 21st, 2025, 9:00 a.m. If everything is resolved before then and you're back in Maricopa County at that time, then that hearing will not happen. If you're still in Pima County, at that point, you'll have a review hearing with this court, 9:00 a.m. on that date. So that's what's happening with that matter. And then we will go ahead and move on to the new charge that was before the court today. This is for shoplifting, which is a misdemeanor offense under 13-1805. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In order to, while you're here on the other matters, in order to ensure that you get any sort of time credit, which may be helpful in that matter, the court is going to set bond in the amount of $100 cash or secured in this matter. You have your next court date as to the shoplifting offense, January 22nd at 1:00 p.m. at the Justice Court, and you either be made available in person or virtually for that matter. Court will appoint counsel for you, and the court will appoint, we'll do Anna Dennis as your counsel, and then so Ms. Dennis will be a resource for you if you have any additional questions about what's happening as well. Okay. And so that'll be, all right, so we're going to go ahead and approve that matter. We're going to go back to, can you send back the other one real quick? Okay. And then just to reiterate, Mr. Lucez, to the other matter for the warrant where you're picked up, the court is going to set bond in this matter in the amount of $500 cash or secured, which was the amount of the warrant previously indicated. And the court will order as conditions of release, should that happen, no alcohol or illegal drugs. And counsel will be appointed. Are we appointing? Okay. All right. Do you want me to publish from here? Okay. All right. And then, okay. So a couple things that basically happen. We have the pending charges in Maricopa County that we're keeping you on in order to make sure that you appear at those hearings. We have a local matter misdemeanor charge for which you have nominal bond in the amount of $100 cash or secured. You'll have to resolve that bond before you can be released on the shoplifting charge. Otherwise, just continue to attend court hearings on that matter. Additionally, you'll be held on the Maricopa County matters until any local matters are resolved and they can get you back up to Maricopa County. Do you have any questions at this time?
No, I can't just go back to Mesa where I live for myself and go take care of it. Like,
If you didn't have the other charge, that might be something that we could do, but we've got this other charge pending right now, so we'll have to work through that.
okay,
What I
can I speak to solid like my what is it? Yeah, when I'm done, I guess.
well, we don't have, you are being appointed counsel, Ms. Dennis, who's going to be, you'll be able to get in contact with her shortly to discuss your matter, the misdemeanor matter. So I would suggest speaking with the attorney, Ms. Dennis, that we appointed for you and seeing if she can help you resolve this matters, okay? All right, at this point then, we'll go ahead and excuse you. Thank you for appearing today. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Stephen Fox.
Mr. Fox, you're here today on a couple of felony charges of theft of means of transportation and burglary in the 3rd degree. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. The state is recommending bond be set in the amount of $5,000 plus release to pretrial services. Mr. Poston, any additional record?
State submits.
And then Ms. Page, any record you want to make?
Your Honor, may I have just one moment to finish reviewing the pretrial service workup?
Sure. Let me just clarify with the jail. There, it looks like there's a DOC hold on this one.
That is correct, Your Honor.
In that case, Your Honor, we would ask that a bond be set so that he receives time credit.
Okay. Any recommendation on that bond?
Your Honor, I would just note that he is part-time employed as a laborer, so I would ask that any bond amount reflect his low economic status.
Okay, let me just take a look. Okay. All right.
May I add something, Your Honor?
It's not a good idea for you to say anything without counsel to assist you in that regard. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Let me just clarify that you do have a hold from the Department of Corrections, which means that no matter what we set your bond at, if it was $5 or $5 million, you would not be released on today's date, even if you posted that. That needs to, so the Department of Corrections has requested that we hold you this time so they can resolve something in that regard. Taking everything into account, what the court's going to do, the court's still going to set bond in this matter to make sure that you get time credit, but the court is going to lower it from the amount recommended by the state. The court will set bond in the amount of $1,000 cash or secured. It appears to be much lower than the bond that was issued previously in the prior case that you had in 2022 for, which I see was set at $25,000, but that was for completely different charges. But in any event, $1,000 cash or secured bond. Court's going to order if you are released not to go back to the incident location. Court will appoint the legal advocate's office to represent you in this matter. And your next court date, Mr. Fox, January 30th, 2025. That'll be at 1:30 p.m. at the Pima County Justice Court. Make sure you appear at future hearings. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Any questions before we conclude?
No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fox. You're excused. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Now you said our Francis.
Okay, Ms. Francis, you're here today on a charge of unlawful flight from pursuing a law enforcement vehicle. This is a felony offense. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. There's virtual counsel available today to assist you. Looks like we have a recommendation from the state bond to be set in the amount of $1,500 plus release to pretrial services. Anything additional, Mr. Poston?
No, Your Honor.
And then Ms. Page?
Yes, Your Honor, I would ask that the court release her to the supervision of pretrial services. I would note that she has no prior criminal history. The alleged charge is a class 5 unlawful flight from law enforcement, no corresponding endangerment charges or assault charges or any indication that any individual was harmed in this case. So based on the nature of the offense and the fact that she has no prior criminal history, as well as she did indicate to pretrial services that she lives in Tucson and is employed full-time as a caregiver, I would ask that the court release her to pretrial services.
Mr. Poston, do you know if the other individuals that are mentioned in the probable cause statement, are they being charged with anything at this time?
I do not have that information, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you happen to have a name? Oh,
One moment, Your Honor.
seeing it today. Okay, and then is there another person that was indicated? Okay. Okay. All right, so what the court's going to do at this time, Ms. Francis, is I tend to agree that it doesn't sound like you were directly involved in the infliction of any violence, but I think that it's going to be appropriate that we have some conditions that address and try to prevent this from occurring again. So that this time the court's going to be ordering that she be released to the supervision of pretrial services. Court will order that she not have any that she follow any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. The court is going to order at this time that she not have any contact with the individual Isaiah Rodriguez until further court order. And that's to prevent the two of you from getting together again and committing any other alleged conduct. Court will appoint the Pima County Public Defender's Office. Next court date for you is a preliminary hearing, January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Make sure that you appear at future court proceedings. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Do you have any questions, Ms. Francis, before we conclude?
It's the time on the 31st.
Sure, 1:30 p.m., but these hearings often get moved. Check in with your public defender to make sure that the date stays in place or does not stay in place. But that's the time right now.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, you are excused. Thank you, Ms. Francis.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Okay. Sorry. Going too fast. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Mark Higera.
Okay, Mr. Higera, we're seeing you today on a few matters: aggravated harassment, aggravated domestic violence, and stalking. These are felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. At this time, the state's recommendation is that bond be set in the amount of $25,000 plus pretrial services, a release to pretrial services. Mr. Poston, any additional record?
Your Honor, all things considered, looking at the facts a second time, the state's going to modify the request to 50,000.
Okay. And then any additional record?
No, Your Honor.
And Ms. Page?
Your Honor, it appears that Mr. Higuera is on probation, so I imagine there's a probation hold, or if not, there will be one shortly. So I would ask that the court impose a bond so that he receives credit for his time while he remains in custody. He is unemployed, Your Honor, so I would ask that the court take that into consideration when determining an appropriate bond amount.
And can the jail confirm if is there a hold yet for probation?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. Higuera, so here's what the court's going to do. So when I'm not doing these initial appearances, I normally do domestic violence hearings over at Superior Court. And what I read in the initial allegations in the probable cause statement gave substantial concern to the court. Noting your financial circumstances, the court does find, and there's also likely going to be a probation hold anyways, which would cause you to be incarcerated regardless of what the court's outcome is. But I think that the pattern of conduct that's being alleged right now gives some pause to the court. Also taking into account your financial situation, the court is going to order that bond be set in this matter in the amount of $10,000 cash or secured, plus release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Some conditions of release are no acts of domestic violence, no firearms or weapons, follow monitoring and treatment as directed by pretrial services, no contact with the individual Aubrey Miranda. And additionally, the court is going to order that you enroll in it and complete a healthy relationships or domestic violence education course. The court will order appointed the Pima County Public Defender's Office. And your next hearing is tentatively set, preliminary hearing, January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. And make sure to confirm with your public defender that that date is still active. Failure to appear at all future court proceedings could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Any questions before we conclude?
Yeah, I know this is not going to help, but I have a custody hearing tomorrow, and I just didn't want to miss that. I know it's not going to help now, but I just wanted to mention that.
Sure. Yeah, and unfortunately, we have to just take these facts separately from any other matters that you may have.
No, I said I understand that. I just didn't want to miss that because I don't want to lose my son for something that I did. You know what I mean? Because I have like a custody hearing tomorrow in the morning, and I just didn't want to miss that. Like I understand, like I did what I did, but I just, you know what I mean?
Okay, just to make sure that you don't say anything additional that could be held against you. I understand.
No, it's nothing bad. It's nothing bad. No, it's nothing bad. I'm just saying that I have. It's just a custody hearing. It's nothing bad. It's not going to terminate me. It's just a fact that I have one tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up at this time. Then, if you don't have any other questions, you are excused at this time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Geez, I'm just really, okay, let me see. Let me go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Cedric Jackson.
Mr. Jackson, we have you here on a couple of matters today. We'll take them one at a time. First matter that we're seeing you on is a, let's see, it looks like it's a possession with intent to sell. It's a felony 2. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. As to the, got a couple of different recommendations here. So it looks like as to the drug charge, the court or the state is recommending that you be released to the third-party supervision of pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, just to be clear, in the case with an agency case number ending in 134, that would be the, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong case number. One moment. Possession with intent, the case ending in 090, state would modify its recommendation because it is possession with intent to sell. The amount is substantial, and there's the statements post Miranda. State would recommend 25,000, and the Ag DY involving injury, agency case number 071, Your Honor. It'd be 25,000 concurrent.
Okay, so for clarity of the record for the two offenses that we're here for today, the state's recommendation is concurrent bond being set across both matters of 25,000 with release to pretrial services. Is that correct, Mr. Poston?
If posted, yes.
Okay. And then Ms. Page, any record?
Your Honor, I would ask that any bonds imposed be concurrent. He is employed as a painter, so I imagine does not have anywhere near the means to pay a $25,000 bond. It looks like this was a drug sales charge and believe a DUI with no evidence of any injury. So I would ask for no more than a $5,000 bond, Your Honor.
Okay, just taking a look at one thing really quick. All right, looks like we've got some significant criminal history. We have a pending DUI matter, misdemeanor DUI. Okay, so in consideration of everything proffered to the court at this time will set bond in this matter in the amount of $15,000 cash is secured, concurrent bond across both matters. And that's additionally as to the additional charges of aggravated DUI, accident involving injury, and criminal damage, which are 3 separate felony offenses. So as to both matters, bond will be set $15,000 cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Conditions of release will be no alcohol, illegal drugs, monitoring or treatment is directed by pretrial services. And I think I'd be inclined to do Pima County Public Defender, or no, sorry, court will appoint the Pima County Legal Advocate's Office to represent the defendant. Next court date for Mr. Jackson is going to be a preliminary hearing, January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at Justice Court. Mr. Jackson, make sure you appear at future hearings. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Let me just make sure everything's checked on here. So any questions while we get this paperwork completed?
No.
Additional condition of release, also not to drive without a valid license as to the DUI matter. And let's see, I should cover it. Okay, so at this time then, Mr. Jackson, you are excused. Yeah, it should be indicated in that. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Cassandra James.
Ms. James, we have you here for a couple of matters. We have you here for a felony matter. Let's start with that one. That is for some charges of dangerous drug possession, narcotic drug possession, and paraphernalia possession, which are felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent, and then anything you say can and will be used against you. In this matter, the state is recommending that you be released to the third-party supervision of pretrial services. Is that still the state's recommendation?
One moment, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay, and then Ms. Page, any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sure. So Ms. James, we have you then. And it looks like the state's offering that a steps hearing be set. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then Ms. Page willing to, and I'll explain what that is, but Ms. Page willing to wait time on that.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. James, you're being offered an opportunity to work with what's called the Smart Court at Pima County Superior Court on these new drug charges, the type of diversion program. And you'll be appointed counsel to Pima County Legal Defender's Office who can clarify further what this program is about. But you'll have a plan generated for you, the things to work through. If you're able to do all those things, you can potentially get these charges permanently dismissed and avoid any formal charges to these drug offenses. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So that's essentially what the state's indicating is that you'll be provided an opportunity to do that. So we're setting a smart hearing for you at Pima County Superior Court, January 28th, 2025. And that's at 9:00 a.m. And your next hearing after that would be a preliminary hearing set at the Justice Court, so two different courts. And that's March 7, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. So those are your next court dates. Make sure you appear at future court dates for this matter. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. As additional conditions of release, however, the court is going to order that you follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, since you are being released to the third-party supervision, and no alcohol or illegal drugs. So additionally, make sure you check in with pretrial services. We see a lot of folks not comply with that. All right, and so it looks like we've got substantial amount of failures to appear. For criminal trespass, assault, disorderly conduct, drug paraphernalia, prescription drug possession, and drug paraphernalia. So it looks like we've had prior where there was a warrant issued on this back in March, and also, back twice in March. So, Ms. James, if the court gives you one more chance to appear at these city court matters, because otherwise, then another warrant will be issued for your arrest if you don't appear. Next.
I will appear.
Perfect. Next court date is March 4th, 2025, 9:00 a.m. And that'll be a pretrial hearing with Judge Blue over at City Court. And again, failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Just going to indicate that prior release conditions are also affirmed. And then, okay, so you've got a few matters being set today. Make sure you appear at all future hearings again. For the last time, then, failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, then it looks like you can be excused.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Shonne.
Mr. Knopf, we have you here on a couple of matters. We'll take them one at a time. Looks like we have you here. It looks like you were picked up on a warrant out of Maricopa County for some prior offenses from July of 2023 for possession of dangerous drugs, possession of narcotic drugs, and possession of drug paraphernalia. These are all felony offenses, so I'll just remind you, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Looks like bond was previously set in the amount of $500 for failure to appear. And then currently we have a couple of misdemeanor offenses that we'll cover second in this matter. So as to the Maricopa County warrant, the court is going to set a bond in the amount of $500 cash or secured. And then court will order any previous release conditions are affirmed. Basically, we have these things that are failures to appear that are pending out of Maricopa County. Maricopa County should be notified that you're picked up and should be making arrangements, hopefully in the near future, to have you processed down over at Maricopa County. In the meantime, we do have some local matters that were just for the recent matters that were alleged from January 20th. So it may be that those need to get resolved first, and then the Maricopa County matters will be resolved. You will have counsel appointed for you, the Pima County Public Defender's Office. Let me just make sure of something real quick. We are going to appoint counsel on this one. Holding him for the warrant. Okay. And so, but the court is planning to have you also remain in custody on a nominal bond in the misdemeanor matters, which would then afford you right to assistance of counsel, and then you can talk with counsel in the other matter about all the matters that are currently pending. Just give me one moment to get this filled out, and then we're going to go to the second matter. So you have a review hearing, Mr. Knopp, that's going to be set in this matter as to the Maricopa County charges. That'll be with this court, February 21st at 9:00 a.m. You appear virtually for that hearing. If everything is resolved before that and you're back in Maricopa County at that time, then that hearing is going to be canceled. But if you are still here for some reason, February 21st, 9:00 a.m. would be your next hearing in this matter. Let's go ahead and do your other matter. And so the other matters are the misdemeanor matters at the Justice Court. Those will be, to reiterate on those, shoplifting and drug paraphernalia possession. Again, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. For the reasons I've stated, ensure your appearance at the future proceedings, give you time credit. Court will set bond in that matter in the amount of $100 cash or secured. And then, or order not to go back to the incident location. Counsel is appointed. The let's see, we'll do it. Go ahead and do.
So Maricopa County is supposed to come pick me up, or is that what I'm waiting for?
Yeah, we've got to get the local. The Optum will wait for the local matter to get resolved first, and then they'll pick you up after that.
What local matter is that? What local matter?
Shoplifting and possession of drug possession.
Where? Where?
So the court is going to appoint Anna Dennis to represent you on today's date.
Where? Where did I shoplift? And when?
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense.
Just for clarity of the record, the complaint is, for possession of drug paraphernalia, shoplifting offenses at or about, looks like 4990 North Oracle. This citation was issued on January 20th. Okay. All right. So next court date in that matter is going to be it's going to be pretty quick. It's going to be a pretrial hearing tomorrow, or I'm sorry, January 22nd, 1:00 p.m. with the Justice Court with Judge Ball. And then again, don't go back to the incident location, and that should cover it for today. Any questions, sir, before we conclude?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And we'll approve. All right. Okay, good morning, ma'am. Can you state your name, please?
Erica Lopez.
Ms. Lopez, we have you here on, looks like you're picked up on a warrant for some prior charges in August of 2024. And this would be a misdemeanor offense, shoplifting, plus some felony offenses, theft, detection, shielding device, and shoplifting. So you do have a right to remain silent as to any pending matters. Anything you say can and will be used against you. It appears that we had an arraignment that was, you had appeared at arraignment and you did not appear, and so there was a $1,500 cash or secured bond placed for failure to appear. State is recommending that bond continue in the amount of $1,500 plus or at least the pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Oh, Your Honor.
And then let me see. Ms. Page, as I'm pulling up something, do you have any record that you want to make?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm asking that the court release her to the supervision of pretrial services. Looks like this is a refile on a direct indictment where she was sent notice to an address that she had an initial appearance and an arraignment. And from her interview with pretrial, it looks like she was not aware of the court date. Your Honor, I would note that she was previously released to pretrial services on this matter, but the case was dismissed pre-indictment. And then she was simply rearrested when she was unaware of the arraignment. So I would argue to the court that there really hasn't been anything that has changed since the time she was previously released to pretrial services. She has verified housing with her father. She is employed full-time as a caregiver. I would also note that to the court that pretrial indicates only one prior failure to appear in the past 2 years, none older than that. So it appears that she was not aware of this court date, Your Honor, and there is no reason to believe that she would not appear if released to pretrial services.
So, Ms. Lopez, the court's going to give you an opportunity to appear at the next date without staying in custody, but just be aware that failure to appear at the next hearing, if you have a second arraignment that's missed with Judge Metzger, I think she's going to up the bond to maybe we might even get into 5 digits. So please make sure that you appear at the next hearing. Court is going to order releasing you to the supervision of pretrial services. Court will order that you follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Court is going to appoint counsel, Pima County Public Defender's Office, and any prior release conditions are affirmed. And so let me see if there's anything else I need to do on here. Looks good. Okay. So next court date is going to be an arraignment at Superior Court, and that'll be January 28th, 2025, 1:30. So week from today, I'm sorry. Yeah, week from today. Oh, okay. Something I'll address separately after this, but and that's at 1:30 p.m., January 28th, 1:30 p.m. at the Superior Court. Make sure that you're there. Failure to appear could result in another warrant being issued, okay? You are excused. Thank you, Ms. Lopez.
David?
Yeah, every single one. Okay, thank you. Okay. Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Even Morero.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Morero, looks like we have you here today on a warrant that was issued for failure to appear in arraignment for some pending charges, burglary and 3rd degree drug paraphernalia. And then it looks like you have, these are felony offenses. So again, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. State is recommending that bond continue in the amount of $5,000. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and then Ms. Page, any record that you want to make?
Yes, Your Honor, these are non-dangerous offenses. And he did report that he is only part-time employed as a landscaper. So taking that into account, I would ask for no more than $1,000 bond.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Morero, we want to make sure that you appear at these future proceedings. The court will, under the circumstances, court will go ahead and set a bond in this matter in the amount of $1,000 instead of $5,000. So we'll set $1,000 cash and secured. Court will order that you also be released to the supervision of pretrial services if bond is posted. Court will appoint the Pima County Public Defender's Office. Court will affirm prior release conditions. Next court hearing for you, sir, is January 28th, 2025. That's an arraignment at Superior Court. That was failure to appear. The prior arraignment was why a warrant was issued. So make sure that you appear. That's next Tuesday, 1:30 at the Superior Court. Failure to appear could result in another warrant being issued for your arrest. Although if you're still incarcerated, then you should be made available at least virtually for that hearing. Any questions at this time?
So I have bondman.
Yeah, $1,000 cash or security. If you post that, you still need to make sure you appear at court. Okay, thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and get him back real quick. We have a city court matter for him. All right, we got an additional thing for you, Mr. Morero. One moment. Okay, it looks like there's a additional charge, Tucson City Court misdemeanor charge, and that's for prior failure to appear for drug paraphernalia. And we also have an additional matter for trespass. That looks like the trespass appears to be the more recent offense and failure to appear was in 2023. So since you're being held on bond in this matter, what the court's going to do is court is going to say nominal bond in this matter in the amount of $50 cash is secured. Court's going to appoint the city public defender's office. So then to resolve the two city court matters, Mr. Morero, you do have a court date. It's going to be set on looks like January 31st. That's going to be at 1:45 p.m. for a video review. And that's as to the paraphernalia and trespass charge in city court. If you do post bond before then, make sure that you appear at the city court January 31st, 2025, 1:45 p.m. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued. That should cover it for today. Any questions? Okay, then thank you, Mr. Morero. You're excused. Thanks for catching that.
Mills,
Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Tim Mills.
Mr. Mills, you're here today on a charge of theft of means of transportation. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is virtual counsel here to assist you. It appears the state's recommending that you be held without bond in this matter. Mr. Poston, do you want to elaborate?
Your Honor, the state would note that it would appear he's on release in Pinal Superior Court case CR 2023-02825. Based on a preliminary read, it looks like there is grounds for a no bond because he was out on a felony and caught a new felony. That said, if the court determines that because it was out of county, this doesn't apply, the state would recommend $25,000.
And Ms. Page.
Your Honor, I believe the state is entitled to seek a no bond hold at this point, but I would ask that the court set a no bond hearing so that can be reviewed.
Okay. So, Mr. Mills, it appears from the information that's available to the court that there is a felony charge pending and you're being on release case in Pinal County. And when a new felony offense is charged, that is the basis for doing, while you're out on release, that is the basis of doing what's called a holding without bond. Based upon what counsel proffered to the court, the information available to the court will order holding you without bond at this time, but you will be set with a no bond hearing next week at the Superior Court where that could be addressed more fully. So that hearing is set January 27, 2025, 2:30 p.m. at the Pima County Superior Court. Additionally, on these charges, there is an additional preliminary hearing that's currently set January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Court will order as an eventual condition of release not to go back to any incident location. If applicable, court will appoint the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. And I think that should cover it for today. Mr. Mills, any questions at this time?
I'm on court, I believe, next week in Pinal County. I don't know how that works.
Do you happen to know when the date is?
I think it's next Monday.
Okay. The Pima County Public Defenders being appointed to represent you, they should get in contact with you either by today or tomorrow. I would imagine Ms. Page may know better than me. I would discuss that immediately with that attorney so that no warrant is accidentally issued in the other case, and or so arrangements can be made to make yourself available, at least virtually, for that hearing too. That should be doable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you're excused, Mr. Mills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zoya,
Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Yeah, Montoya.
Mr. Montoya, you're here today on a few charges: aggravated assault, aggravated DUI, and then reckless driving. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is counsel here virtually to represent you. On today's date, state is recommending bond be set in the amount of $50,000 plus then released pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, Your Honor, the state would refer the court to the interim complaint statement. This is a very concerning situation in which the defendant pointed a firearm unprovokedly at another person. He's also pending in a Pasquayaki case that would also have DUI implications.
Thank you. And then Ms. Page.
Your Honor, I would just note for the court that Mr. Montoya does have verified housing with his wife as reflected in the pretrial service report, that financially he is self-employed as a barber, and I would ask the court to take that into consideration when determining an appropriate bond.
Thank you. I think given the nature of the allegations, including alleged extreme intoxication and then also the brandishing of a firearm toward a victim, the court will determine that at the present time, Mr. Montoya is a danger to the community and bond is appropriate, the amount of $50,000 with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Some conditions of release, Mr. Montoya, if bond is posted, don't drive without a valid license, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. Any firearms or weapons shall be surrendered to local law enforcement. And then follow monitoring and treatment as directed by pretrial services. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent you. Next court date is a preliminary hearing, January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. And so make sure you appear at future proceedings. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. Any questions before we conclude?
Yes, how much would I have to pay off of that bond?
Typically, if it's cash or secured, they'll want 10% being posted, so $5,000. Depends on the bondsman though.
And I won't be able to get released to pretrials at all. I don't have no other. I know that's a very charge that I have, but that's not me. That's not my I guess my personality. I guess you want to say I'm not a threat to nobody. I haven't no violent charges on me for that. I understand the DUI stuff, but not that stuff. Like that's just hearing it scaring me. I'm sorry, but that's not how I am. So I don't know how that works.
What I would
get a chance, if I could get a chance, that's my first time doing something like that. So I really feel for it. I really do have remorse for that. I didn't know it. I'm sorry. That's all I can say. But
yeah,
that would help me out if I can get released off of that instead of or take the bond down a little. That's too much. I don't have a job like that.
What else?
I'm not a threat to nobody. I swear.
Mr. Montoya, at this time, what I'll suggest is get in contact with your public defender. They should be reaching out to you shortly. If you want to request that bond be reduced, that's something that you can request, and then a judge can hear that at a future point. I'm just going off the information I have right now and the seriousness of the allegation. So at this point, then, do be in contact with your public defender. They may be able to assist you further. The court will go ahead and excuse you at this time. Thank you, sir. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Isaiah Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, you are here today on a couple of matters. We're going to take them one at a time. First, you have charges of aggravated assault with a weapon, prohibited possessor charge, and also secondary burglary. These are felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you, and you do have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is virtual counsel here today to represent you. State is recommending that bond be set in the amount of $75,000 plus release to pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, the state would just like to note for the court's record the absolute egregious level of risk. He's already being held without bond on a separate case for probation violation. He is an NVCAS. He is a 4 and a 3. He knocked on the victim's door. He barged in and then pulled out a gun and pointed it at the victim with the victim's child immediately next to them. This person could have killed 2 people, but for a pull of a trigger. The person is a danger. 75,000.
And Ms. Page?
Your Honor, Mr. Rodriguez is held on a no bond hold, so regardless of the amount that the court imposes due to the probation hold, he will not be released. I would ask that the court set a bond so that he received time credit for this new offense. I would also note that there is no indication that he pulled the trigger. And while the allegations are concerning, this is not a murder charge.
So I didn't say did pull the trigger. I said but for.
Okay, at this point then, court will set bond in this matter in the amount of $50,000 cash is secured with release to pretrial services. The bond is posted. Court will order as conditions of release, not to drive without a valid license, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons, and shall surrender any firearms to local law enforcement. Additionally, no acts of domestic violence, follow monitoring and treatment as directed by pretrial services. Counsel will be appointed, Pima County Public Defender's Office. Next court date to this matter, Mr. Hold on a second. Let me hold on just a moment. I've got a different file up here. Let me get this approved, and then let me go over to Mr. Rodriguez. Okay. All right. So yeah. So indicating $50,000. No alcohol or illegal drugs. No acts of domestic violence. No firearms, weapons. Surrender. Monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. No contact with the stated victim, Naima Davis, not to go to the victim's residence or workplace. Again, Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed. Next court date is to this matter, January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. At the Justice Court for preliminary hearing. We have another matter that we're going to address, Mr. Rodriguez, but make sure you appear at future court dates. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. And then we're going to go ahead and go to the just one moment before we get to the next one on Montoya. I put a hold on him accidentally. Can we get taken off? Do I need to do that? No, let me I'll just do it right here. Okay. I think I indicated a hold. We just need to take the hold off. There's no hold on Mr. Montoya. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So then, Mr. Rodriguez is going to go down to your city court matters. City court matters include 2 charges for threatening or intimidating and disorderly conduct. These are misdemeanor offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You are already being held right now as to the Justice Court felony matters. At this time, the court is going to impose relatively nominal bond in this matter to make sure that you get credit. Court will set bond in the amount of $500, cash or secured. Court will order that you not commit any acts of domestic violence, possess no firearms or weapons, no contact with the victim, not to go to residence or workplace of the victim. Court will order appointing the City Public Defender's Office to represent you in this matter. So as to these DV matters which have arisen in city court, you'll have a video review date, January 31st, 2025, 1:45 p.m. for video review. That will be a Judge Hale. So a couple of court dates, both on January 31st, although the video review is probably the only one that's actually going to happen that requires your presence, and you'll receive these court dates additionally. Any questions, Mr. Rodriguez, at this time?
Do you know if counsel could come down and see me like the soonest?
That is typically there. I can't I can't tell how long it's going to take them to get down there, but they typically get these cases and act pretty quickly. So my hope
Do I
is
still have Mark Willerman?
as to I appointed I think the Public Defender's Office to represent you for the other matters. So I don't know if you're going to have the same counsel again, but the City Public Defender is also going to represent you. So you have 2 different attorneys assisting you with these matters.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Your excuse.
Thank you.
Good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Is he shown?
It's shown. We have looks like 3 different matters for you today. We'll take them one at a time. The first matter looks like you were picked up on an arrest warrant issued out of Moreno. Make sure these charges look correct. We've got 3 different files here. Okay, so it looks like the first matter is an arrest warrant that picked you up for failure to appear on some prior offenses alleged in 2022 and 2023. These are misdemeanor offenses, but you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Let me see really quick before looks like, Mr. Poston, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but is the state's recommendation still going to be released to pretrial services for the other offenses?
One moment, please. On the case ending in 010, that is PTS with screening for Steph Smart. And Your Honor, that's the only one I have.
Just want to make sure. All right, so Ms. Shonne, so the court, I'm seeing a lot of failure to appear across a lot of these cases. It looks like 5 different instances of failure to appear across 2 different cases. What assurance can you give me that if you're released on today's date, that you can appear at these hearings?
I was homeless at that time and I'm not currently homeless anymore and I have an ability to organize and appear at places. I've gotten used to the bus system and a lot of things have changed. I'm in recovery.
And so if the court gives you an opportunity today to make it to these hearings, do you think you'll be able to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Page, we're not quite on that one yet. We're still on the Miranda City Court one, so I'll go to you in just a moment. Order releasing you on your promise to appear at the Miranda City Court matter. You do have, I think we're going to need, unfortunately, do we have the ability to get another arraignment date for her for a city court? I don't know who the judge is. It just said she has an arraignment today at noon. She's not going to be released by noon, so she won't be able to make that. Okay, can we set a new one for her? Miranda. Sorry. Oh, okay. All right. So you'll have your next court date then, Ms. Shonne, as to the city court matter is in Miranda City Court, not Tucson City Court, Miranda City Court. Today at noon, you should still be incarcerated, so they'll make you available by video for that hearing. So you have an arraignment today as to the prior drug offenses. Court will order affirming any prior release conditions. And we'll go ahead and do that. And then, okay, and then we're going to pull up the additional new charges, which are the felony offenses for possession of a dangerous drug, possession of a narcotic drug, possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is counsel appearing virtually to assist you. State has already indicated that the recommendation is that you be released to pretrial services and that you be set up with hearing through the SMART court. It's called STEPS, and it's a diversion program that allows you to see if you can have your charges dismissed without being formally charged in the Superior Court. Is that something you'd like to avail yourself of?
Yes, please.
And then, Ms. Page, any additional record you want to make?
No, Your Honor, but we will waive time for the steps hearing.
Okay. All right. So the court then will indicate that a SMART hearing is being set January 28th, 2025, 9:00 a.m. Will indicate time waived on the preliminary hearing. And then, let's see. So preliminary hearing is going to be set then March 7, 2025, 1:30 p.m. SMART court hearing then for you, Ms. Shonne, is going to be next week, the 28th at 9:00 a.m. And that's going to be at Superior Court. And so that'll be your first opportunity to pursue the diversion. Make sure that you appear at all future hearings. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. The court will order for this matter that you not engage in use of alcohol or illegal drugs. And I think if it wasn't already indicated that you are being released on today's date to the pretrial third-party supervision of pretrial services, and you should be following and monitoring the treatment as directed by pretrial services. Pima County Legal Defender's Office is appointed to represent you. We've gone over so far a lot of information. Anything you want me to restate, Ms. Shonne?
I'm just curious, the SMART court, is that mean it's like this one is?
I believe that one will be in person. I'm not sure if that one is virtual or not.
That one will be in person, so it's important that you appear for the hearing. And you should get in contact with your attorney, and they'll be able to give you additional information. Sorry, Your Honor.
No, that's fine. Okay. And then, so Ms. Shonne, then we're going to go then to your city court matter. This is the other failure to appear I've talked about for drug paraphernalia charges. based upon what you've indicated previously, the court is going to release you on your promise to appear. And the court's going to affirm any prior release conditions. Just give me one moment to fill this out. Okay, and so the next court date in that matter in city court, so this will be the third or fourth hearing we've got for you today, but all this is going to be released, or all this is going to be written down for you. February 25th, 2025. That'll be at 9:00 a.m. And that's for a pre-trial hearing at the city court, the Judge Mayhew. So we have dates in January, February, and March. Make sure you appear at all future hearings. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued. Any additional questions, Ms. Shonne?
No.
Okay, with that then, so in general, the long and short of it, you are being excused, or you are being released today. Just make sure you go to your arraignment today at noon, okay?
Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Shonne. You are excused.
thank you.
Leroy?
Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Yes, Leroy Snell.
Mr. Stow, we've got you here for a couple of matters. We're going to go one at a time on these. Looks like the first matter we're going to talk about is let me see here. All right, so we've got or three charges for possession of a dangerous drug, possession of a narcotic drug, and possession of drug paraphernalia. These are felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is counsel available today virtually to assist you. As to these charges, the state, it looks like, is recommending that a smart court hearing be set and you be released to the third-party supervision of pretrial services. Is that still the same recommendation, Mr. Poston?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Page, are you waiving time on that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so what's being offered, Mr. Stowe, is a opportunity to participate in a program called STEPS, which is at the Superior Court, and it's a diversion program that allows you to potentially have these charges not even be charged in the first place and have them be dismissed. Is that something that you want to participate in?
Yes, Your Honor.
So in light of that, we have your next court date for that matter is going to be January 28th at 9:00 a.m. That's next week at 9:00 a.m. at Superior Court. Make sure that you appear. And then that'll be an in-person hearing there at Superior Court. You also have a preliminary hearing that's being moved out to March 7, 2025, 1:30 p.m. The court is going to order appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're not to engage in any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you are being released today to the third-party supervision of pretrial services. So follow any monitoring or treatment that they direct for you. And so we'll go ahead and you'll get a copy of these dates when you are eventually discharged today. So we'll go ahead and save that. We'll approve. We're going to go now to the other matter we have you for, and that is for a failure to appear for a Morero matter for paraphernalia and essentially failure to appear from 2022, 2023. Mr. Stowe, if we give you an opportunity to appear at those dates, will you be able to make it?
Yes, I will, Your Honor.
And then any issues with transportation or otherwise that we need to be aware of?
No, not at all, Your Honor.
Okay, so court will then order, as the city court matters, that we give you a opportunity to appear, and court will order releasing on your promise to appear. You do have what's called a case management conference there. It's actually today at noon, so about an hour and a half. My understanding is you'll be made available virtually by video to appear at that hearing before you're released from the jail today. Then you'll be released after that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
No. Oh, because the other, one moment, because the other individual wasn't being held either. Okay, let me clarify something. So to the jail then, is it likely that Mr. Stowe is going to be released eminently, or is it going to take a couple hours?
It'll probably take a couple of hours, Your Honor.
Do you think can he be made available for this virtual hearing with Morero?
I think they schedule with jail records, Your Honor, and then we can move him over to that part of the jail
Okay.
for that hearing.
Okay, why don't we try doing that? So the court is, I'm not going to hold you just for the purposes of you going to that next court date, Mr. Stokes. So we are going to release you in general.
Okay.
Mail is indicating that they'll make you available virtually for the city court matter. So we're going to just hope that that happens as planned. I'm sorry, for Miranda City Court is the matter that you have the next hearing date with. So, all right, so we're going to affirm that. And then, okay, so I think that should cover it. We've got your other case. You're set for steps. We've got the city court matter or the Miranda City Court matter that you're going to have today. So you should be all set for today, Mr. Stowe. And any questions before we conclude?
Yeah, am I being released today? I'm just
In general, and yeah, I know we went over a lot. You are being released today. The goal though is I was under the impression that if we had set your hearing with the city court, the Miranda City Court at noon today, that you'll still be incarcerated and made available for that. I'm just trying to avoid you accidentally getting a warrant for that when we could reset that hearing. So I'm hopeful that you'll just be able to hear that virtually. That's the only other court dates that you have for today. That's the only thing that you'd have to be in the jail for to really facilitate today. Otherwise, yes, you are being released today.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So you are excused.
Thank you.
Okay, can you go ahead and state your name, please, sir?
Brian Keith Vice.
Mr. Vice, we've got you here on a couple of matters today. We'll go ahead and take them one at a time. Looks like we have. Take a look really quick. Okay, so the first matter we're going to discuss is a failure to appear on a Graham County matter. We had several felony offenses from 2024 and a misdemeanor offense. So $10,000 bond was set in that matter. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. At this time, based upon the information before the court to secure your appearance, court will set bond in this matter. Just one moment. Court's going to affirm the bond previously set, $10,000 cash or secured. So we have two matters that you're being seen. This looks like a pending matter in Graham County. There's also one that's at the Justice Court here in Pima County. Mr. Vice, the local matters likely are going to have to be addressed first before you're able to be released and then potentially sent over to Graham County. There's a review hearing that's going to be set in this court February 21st, 9:00 a.m. if everything hasn't resolved as to your local matters. And if you are back in Graham County by that time on February 21st, that hearing will be vacated. The court is affirming the bond that was set on the warrant in the amount of $10,000 cash or secured. And so we're going to move on to the next matter, which is the local charges that we have here in Pima County. And those are going to be for theft by means of transportation, burglary in the third degree, unlawful possession, and as well as possession of drug paraphernalia. These are felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. State is recommending that bond be set in the amount of $10,000 plus release to pretrial services. And then Mr. Poston, any additional record?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Ms. Page, any record on behalf of the defendant?
Your Honor, I would ask that the court impose a bond so that he receives credit for the time in custody since he will remain in custody on the Graham County matter. Regardless, I would note that he is homeless and unemployed, and these are nonviolent property offenses. So I would ask for $1,000 bond, Your Honor.
We do have pretty extensive bond set at request of the Graham County court. Court, given the circumstances presented to the court, will set bond in the amount of $1,000. Cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. And then court will order as conditions of release, no alcohol or illegal drugs, follow monitoring of treatment as directed by pretrial services. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the defendant. Next court date for the defendant will be January 31st, 2025, 1:30 p.m. That'll be for preliminary hearing. And then we've gone over a lot of information, Mr. Vice. Any questions before we conclude?
No, sir.
Okay, so you are excused. Thank you, sir. Okay, I think that should cover it for today. Thank you, everybody, and sorry about the issue.
You're the Tucson, my friend so dear. We gather today, it's crystal clear. From the streets of Congress to Mount Lemon's Peak, united we stand strong and sleek. Old Pueblo's pride, under the desert sun. From the barrios to the ranches, we are one. We walk hand in hand through the cactus and sand. Together we rise tall and grand. Tucson is home where hearts collide. In this vast country where dreams reside, we lift our voices, let our spirits roll. In this melting pot, Tucson is home. In the shadows of the Catalina, we unite. From dawn's first light to the calm of night. Through trials and triumphs, together we grow. Tucson's love, forever we'll show. Arizona's gem, in the heart of the West. Tucson's diversity is simply the best. From the old missions to the modern flair, our culture and warmth we proudly share. Tucson is home where hearts collide. In this vast country where dreams reside, we lift our voices, let our spirits roam. In this melting pot, Tucson is home. In the shadows of the Catalinas, we unite. From dawn's first light to the calm of night. Through trials and triumphs, together